everybody. Thank you so much for coming this evening. My name is Barbara Berger, and I'm the executive editor at Sterling Publishing. We're the publisher of Letters to President Clinton by Rabbi Menachem Genek. This book represents a unique chapter in the annals of history, a written dialogue between a prominent American rabbi, Menachem Genek, and the President of the United States that spanned more than 17 years and continues to this day. The two men first met when then-Governor Clinton was just beginning his road to the presidency. As their friendship deepened, the rabbi started sending President Clinton brief essays highlighting spiritual insights from the Bible to help him navigate difficult decisions and issues. During his second term, at the president's request, Rabbi Genek took a more formal and regular approach to sending the essays, and he asked his friends and acquaintances, many well-known and distinguished in their own right, to contribute. In all, Rabbi Genek sent over 100 essays to President Clinton. Letters to President Clinton is a selection of these essays which plumb the depths of the Bible for messages that are not only relevant to the leader of the most powerful country in the world, but can provide inspiration to everyone. As the editor of this book, it was a great honor for me and my colleagues at Sterling to work with my esteemed and brilliant friend, Rabbi Genek, and his team at the OU Press to help bring it to life. We were also grateful to President Clinton for allowing us to reproduce his letters in the book. President Clinton was hoping to attend tonight, but at the last minute was unfortunately unable to make it, and he sends his regrets. To say a few words about the book, I'm pleased to welcome historian Harold Holzer, one of the country's leading authorities on Abraham Lincoln and the political culture of the Civil War. A prolific writer and lecturer and frequent guest on television, Mr. Holzer serves as chairman of the Lincoln Bicentennial Foundation, the successor organization to the U.S. Abraham Lincoln Bicentennial Commission, to which he was appointed by President Clinton in 2000 and co-chaired from 2001 to 2010. President Bush, in turn, awarded him the National Humanities Medal in 2008. Mr. Holzer has authored, co-authored, and edited 46 books. His latest is The Civil War in 50 Objects, written for the New York Historical Society, where he's serving currently as the first Roger Murtaugh Fellow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, Senator, distinguished rabbis and guests. I'm actually not only going to pay tribute to Rabbi Genek, and in his usual modest way, he asked me to speak about my specialty, Abraham Lincoln, and to try somehow to weave all of this together, sort of like a 6 degrees of separation. In fact, it's appropriate to do that at the synagogue in whose original house of worship Kaddish was recited for Abraham Lincoln, even though he's a non-Jew. Supposedly, according to legend, the first non-Jew for whom Kaddish was ever said, at least in New York City. And that was, of course, in April 1865. Most Americans remember that period as a so-called Black Easter. But according to the calendar, it was also the final holiday days of Passover. And while non-Jews remembered Lincoln in a certain way, Jews remembered him as a modern Moses who had sort of fulfilled the words of Leviticus by leading people to the promised land, but not quite getting there himself. The relationship of presidents and rabbis has been interesting, particularly where Lincoln is concerned, and Rabbi Genek and I have talked about this. Lincoln did not have a rabbi, unfortunately, to write to receive inspiration letters from. He did have Rabbi Isaac Mayer Wise, who was sort of a thorn in his side because he was a Democrat who was not too friendly to the Lincoln administration, was highly critical. He had several rabbis who tried unsuccessfully to serve as military chaplains during the Civil War, but were denied the opportunity to do so because federal law required that chaplains be of some, quote, Christian denomination until Abraham Lincoln signed the law that altered that restriction, and the first Jewish chaplains were appointed for the military in the Lincoln administration. Lincoln also had General Grant, a commander who suffered from a bit of paranoia about Jews, and had the courage to overturn his order banning Jews from the Western military departments of Kentucky and Tennessee. really what amounted to an American pogrom, a rather black mark in American military history. And a delegation of rabbis, Rabbi Yanak, as you know, came to see Lincoln to try to get that order overturned, including Caesar Caskel, who's a famous rabbi. And Lincoln joked, so the children of Israel were forced out of the happy land of Canaan. And the rabbi said, yes, and that's why we come unto Father Abraham's bosom asking protection. And Lincoln said, that protection you shall have. Lincoln may not have had his own full-time rabbi, but he did have people smart enough to have a Jewish doctor, which I think was a good idea. He had a chiropodist named Issachar Zagar, who helped Lincoln not only relieved his corns, but helped him reestablish contact with Jewish communities in the Confederacy, in Richmond and New Orleans, when they fell under Union control. Some people have even gone so far as to assert that Lincoln was an early Zionist. But we do know Lincoln said this to Rabbi Wise: I have a high regard for the Jews. My chiropodist is a Jew, and he has so many times put me upon my feet that I would have no objection to giving his countrymen a leg up. So the concentric circle is complete. President Clinton is a true expert on Abraham Lincoln, and a friend not only to rabbis but to world Jews. He gave rabbis and congregations and all Americans a leg up in what Lincoln called the race of life. So honoring a modern political rabbi in a shul that once honored Lincoln, who had protected the Jews despite their own political differences with him during the war, to celebrate a book that focuses on one of Lincoln's greatest White House successors, who in turn greatly admires Lincoln. You see that it still goes on. And the last time I saw Senator Lieberman was at the Senate screening of the movie Lincoln in the Capitol. So it continues this tradition. Rabbi, you invoke the spirit of both presidents, who reached out across faiths to offer sustaining comfort and wisdom. In light of the political news that many of us heard today, I don't want to be political, but there are some leaders, spiritual leaders and political leaders, who block bridges. And there are some leaders who build bridges, like Senator Lieberman, like President Clinton, and like Rabbi Menachem Yanak. It's an honor to be here and to wish you Mazel Tov for the